less than a week from the season starting. Are you excited? A little anxious? What's the feelings?
I think this time of year, you'll hear every coach talk about how much they like their team, unless they've lost an exhibition game that was for public consumption. Um, so I think the unknown is probably what gives me the most angst. I love our group. I love coaching them. I mean that sincerely. But we're going to be without number two, and he was a little bit of a security blanket because of how adept he was at being able to manufacture baskets, whether they were from close range and some kind of floater or reverse layup against a big, or from 32 feet. He had this propensity for the ball to go in the basket. So we'll miss that. And that's part of college basketball. You only get them for a certain duration of time. But man, this group they've impressed me with the way they've played together, how selfless they are. And I think it's true to maybe whom we've recruited and how that's manifesting itself on the floor.
I think you've talked about this before. This team, could it have more of an identity to the 2019 team, at least from an offensive standpoint, where could be a different guy on a different night?
Yeah, 2019 seems like so long ago, doesn't it?
You remember that still?
I do. I think COVID aged us all by double the years. Yeah, that group that had Caleb, Mayo, Scotty, Lavelle, Georgie, Cuff, they really, any one of those guys could be double-digit scorers, and on most nights, we'd have 3, 4, 5 of them. And I think this group will look similar to that. I think the difference maybe is this team plays a little more conceptually than they do out of formations or plays, and it's hard to scout. So I feel like, and primarily that's due to Kyle Rode and his ability to connect. But man, we've actually had some returners that have really improved over the summer. Zach Cleveland, Colin Porter, who played as freshmen, they really elevated their level of play. And the guy that I think is he Myers in relative obscurity is Joseph Vincent. Like, that dude does so much on the basketball court. So I like our versatility. I like our ability to beat you maybe from different spots on the floor, but I try and stay away from comparing teams because they're so different in their chemistry and in their issues. But I think this group will have some similar offensive statistical lines as that aforementioned group.
You've had 2 close scrimmages and a few weeks of practice. What do you think you've learned about your team so far, and maybe what are some areas that you're hoping to maybe harp on in the early part of the season?
Yeah, thanks, John, for not asking the scores of the secret scrimmages. I think those things are so misleading. Like, real talk. If you played like we saw this weekend, I don't know if you saw Tennessee, Michigan State, or Purdue, Arkansas, like I watched both those games, those were real February-like games because there's 20,000, 16,000 people in the arena. Like this demographic, 18 to 20, they're different when there's people watching them. So when there's nobody else in the gym, don't get me wrong, I think it's a glorified practice. And although I think we were decent on both outings, there's a lot we need to improve upon. What I do know coming out of those is that our group is fairly connected. Like we believe in the we over me phraseology, if you will. But I think look at our non-conference schedule in the first 5 games. You know, we have the non-one in the opener, but man, we go right to it and we'll get tested early. So I think I'll be able to probably give you a little bit better depiction of our group after we get back from Myrtle Beach.
What's the relationship with Mid-Atlantic Christian? How does that game come about?
Coach Johnson runs the point on some of those non-one scheduling, and I think we played them last year. And the coach, really nice guy. I say kid. When you're 58, I think you can say that. And they battled us. I didn't follow them during the season. We were struggling to get an opener. We wanted to get an opener that had a wow factor to it, and it lends to the difficulty of scheduling these days as a mid-major. But excited for anybody that comes to Liberty Arena because they're not signing up for it as frequently as maybe when we first got here, but I think that's part of it.
We have, I think, 6 returners that played a lot of minutes last year, and then Caden, who's played a lot of minutes and a lot of games at Bowling Green. How comfortable are you with those 7? And then, maybe what's the rest of your depth look like right now?
Yeah, fair question. I love the returners because obviously they know our system. They also know our verbiage. Like I think being able for an older group to not have to reteach or have a bunch of transfers that have to get familiar or more familiar with your glossary, I think that's an unintended blessing. And in our transfers, Xander and Caden, they come from good programs. Creighton is a terrific basketball program that I won't compliment ourselves, but they have some offensive similarity to us, and I think Greg McDermott's a phenomenal coach. So Xander's had 0 in terms of a lag in conceptual formation or basketball. Caden's he's a different one just because he's really, really good. And how he was used at his previous school is different than how I think he best benefits our team. So those 2 and this aforementioned 6, I think, is really good. I'd say we're probably 9 or 10 deep at the moment, but that may change after the first week or 2 of the season. You don't know how guys will be when there's popcorn in the popcorn in the stand. So we'll see.
How about the connectivity on defense that you've seen so far in the preseason, particularly with a couple of newcomers like that, but having so many guys back too? Have you seen the connectedness that you'd like to see at this point?
Right now we have an aversion to defense. No, they're look. Kyle Rowe's voice is prevalent on every possession, and I think it makes it more. You're more accountable because he's on the floor. But we have some really good individual defenders. Joseph Van Sant, Shiloh Robinson, Zach Cleveland's a really good defender. So I think when you see a bunch of those really good individual defenders on the floor with another competitive and tough-minded kid like Caden is, like Colin is, Gabriel, I think that group has a chance to be connected. But it's a little bit whom we recruit, Nick. I love the families that our guys are from because they're fairly. We have 0 issues in terms of conduct, character, the selfishness stuff that a lot of teams deal with. Man, we've been exempt from. So I think that shows up on both ends of the floor. Any questions from this side?
Yes. I'm not sure if you noticed this over the weekend. I know you're busy preparing for the season. Proposed changes to the NIT, particularly eliminating automatic bids
Really?
for smaller conferences.
Just kidding. Yeah, I mean, Ed, it is what it is. I think, yes, I was surprised at the automatic bids to the Power 6. I was surprised by it. But I was floored by the timing of it. What was that? Friday, and usually
Friday
when
news
people,
dump.
yeah, when you release it Friday, there's probably a reason. I know some of the members of the committee on the NIT, and they're tremendous people, coaches. We were privileged to play in that last year, but it took the highest net ranking in our program's history to qualify, and I probably haven't dove too deeply into it to tell you how it'll affect us. I think if you're having a good season or a great season, I can't help but to think you'd be rewarded. I think where I'm most concerned is when you play a conference tournament on a neutral site floor, and I'm not sure where the advantage lies for the regular season champion. You know what I mean? Like last year, we finished a tie for first, and we played at Kennesaw. Well, let's say we would have knocked off Kennesaw, and they got a chance to play a conference championship on their home floor. But it's really hard to win a regular season championship. I don't know what their net was, but it was in the hundreds. Am I right on that? Do you know? So are you telling me that you wouldn't have taken a Kennesaw team that almost beat Xavier in the NCAA tournament? That one's hard to swallow. So I just think, I hope common sense prevails. I get why it was done. I think the implication of the potential Fox agreement that was headed down that road when 3 of those conferences probably necessitated the NIT or NCAA to support or make that decision.
They were 116.
116.
You mentioned the 2 transfers, but also 3 freshmen coming in. How have they assimilated to the team, and do you anticipate there being a role for them this season?
Yeah, I love our freshmen. Haven't decided yet to the degree of which we'll choose to redshirt. That'll be a decision we partner in. We'll redshirt at least 1, maybe 2, maybe all 3. I don't know. And we would do it because of how optimistic I am about how they can help us. But when you have COVID seniors, I mean, Kyle and Shiloh, this is their 5th year. We just have a group that has some experience, and it's, you guys hear me say it and probably get tired of it, the longer you're in the pack, the better you get at it. And I think you'll see that evidence in Brody and Gabriel and Bryson, and our freshmen just don't have the same amount of reps in that. But I love the class that we got. They're going to really be good players.